Hello Strength Matters, welcome to Whiteboard Wednesdays. An opportunity for us to offer as much as we can in terms of training principles and training concepts to help you become the best version of yourselves. I'm Phil McDougall.
And I'm Scott Olson. Thanks for joining us. Today's concept is we're actually combining two of the components of athleticism because we've discovered it's a much more dynamic conversation between the two of us as we look at both speed and power, why they're different and what the similarities are.
Yeah, and why it's necessary to separate them in our 10 components, because as like Scott just said, they're two separate components on our 10 components. Now from my background, as definitely high on endurance, high on cardiovascular capacity, even after 6 years in the industry, I'm still having a hard time differentiating between speed and power, and if this whole thing was up to me, they'd just be on the same line. So I'm going to be playing devil's advocate, and for the sake of people who are as little in the know as I am, so people maybe sitting at home, we're going to the purpose of this one is to basically define and differentiate speed and power, and then we'll just touch on a little bit at the end on kind of why you need it and what baseline should be, but we won't spend much time on that. How is speed and power different?
Alright, so how is it different? So first I'm just going to bring to mind a couple of quick images. A lot of people see the 100 meter sprint in the Olympics as a great measurement of speed. A lot of people associate in the strongman world lifting, pulling a truck as a tremendous exertion of power. But really the nuances can be really fascinating here. So I have a martial arts background, and I will share I was relatively weak growing up. I was underdeveloped in that training, but I got very good results training technique and skill because I had a lot of speed with my short movements. The problem was I didn't always have much power. So in the realm of, let's say, boxing real quick, we're talking about this concept of the jab is one of the quickest ways to exert that contact, which can be damaging, but it can also be distracting. And anybody who's actually played in the realm or trained in the realm of boxing can understand and appreciate that a very fast jab can land and be very ineffective if someone hasn't trained how to get power through that jab or that just enough power. So how is it different, speed and power? Speed is really the concept of, well, how fast is, how long does it take to get from A to B? And can we do that faster and faster and faster? Power is a much trickier concept in motion, but power is ultimately how much exertion or how much force produced is happening in that moment. If I'm pushing a heavy object or lifting a heavy object, if I'm lifting a barbell off the ground really, really slowly, my power production is actually much lower compared to lifting that barbell off the ground like that. Mm-hmm. So power production has a time duration. Speed has a time duration, but these are really completely different components in my mind. Okay. So in the CrossFit world, workout of the day, there's so many great athletes training, and we can really visualize, these guys and these women, they're producing a lot of power. They're lifting weights, they're throwing those med balls super fast. They're doing two different things, but we can take the same motions and do them really, really fast without moving a lot of weight, without creating much force production, mm-hmm. and work on the speed component completely separate from the power component.
Yeah. The way I understand that, power is speed but with mass present.
Yes, and power is the speed as if we're looking at a timeline, power is the first part of speed.
Yeah. Okay, so 100 meter run or 50 meter dash. let's say you reach your full speed, well, as I've learned, you reach your full speed at around about 30 to 40 meters, but so anything between there and there, that's the acceleration phase. And that bit requires power, but then you require speed to continue that with elements of cardiovascular capacity and, well, not really cardiovascular capacity, but I guess muscle endurance. Yeah.
So in this case, we're moving a heavy object, the human being, as explosively as we can off of the ground, fighting gravity, fighting inertia, to hit that power production, to be able to hit maximum speed. That's what's going on there.
Okay. So in terms of the everyday athlete, now remember our scale of athletes, 10, couch potatoes, couch commandos.
Yeah.
I think everybody 5, 6 and above kind of gets this and understands it. You know, you could look at the physics definition of power, which is force times velocity. Let's just talk to these people, so the 2s, the 3s, up to the 4s and 5s. Why does somebody who is just started exercise, or they're exercising regularly but don't really kind of understand it to the degree that these guys do, how can they work on speed, and why would they need it?
Okay. So back to the power equation, or really what's defined as force. Force equals mass times acceleration. So we're now really thinking about how heavy is the object, how much mass there is, and what is the speed, or what is the rate of acceleration, which is very different than maximal speed and very different than velocity as it's defined. So how is this relevant? It's the question of it's a big question. I'm stalling on this because there's so many different ways to dial this into someone's program. And if we're looking at the everyday athlete, we can make some assumptions here because I've been there and I still struggle with this. We lean towards certain habits of what we do well in our training. Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people avoid or lean away from is testing maximum speed, such as the 40-yard dash or the 50-meter run. That is a really dynamic thing to train, and it's very much in the realm of power production. Mm-hmm. What everyone likes to train is running the mile, the presidential fitness test, or doing 400 meter. But we're leaving the realm of power production if we're only training speed on that longer duration level. Yeah. So bringing this component back in is if we think of training reps, and maybe it's not necessarily in the weight room, but maybe it's throwing a med ball, or maybe it's going through a series of burpees, squat, push-up, standing, jump. We can ask ourselves, how many can we do in a minute? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we can play with that. And what's really happening is we start playing in the sandbox of both of these at the same time, which I think is really where you started from, is you like to see them in the same conversation.
Yeah, I would put them in the same place, but I understand for people who are kind of 4, 5s and upwards, they'd like to see them separately. So let me just maybe finish with my perception of what that is, what I take from this. So an everyday person in their everyday lives would need speed in order to move quickly without really producing much force. So let's say dog knocks over vase falls off table, whoa, move quickly. Okay, there we go. And it would be nice to be able to do that as we age without worrying about pulling our shoulder or pulling our back, because moving quickly is a part of our everyday life, right? Yeah. My wife is often complaining about getting run over by a cyclist or a skateboarder when she's on her morning walk on the boardwalk, and so my answer to her is, well, train on your speed and your power and agility, and that way, you can move out of the way quickly. But I normally get laughed at for that. But yeah, so and just in terms of everyday people at home, it's important to maintain that speed for the sake of protecting yourself when you fall over, right? So when I'm thinking kind of, right, my parents at some point is likely that, I know I fall over. Age doesn't really have anything to do with it. And when you fall, it happens quickly. When that happens, I want the confidence, and I want my parents to have the confidence that they can stop themselves when that happens. So that's where kind of speed comes into it. Power. Okay, so let's use the 60s group.
Yep.
Where does on an everyday scale, where does power come into their everyday lives?
So, and mind you, power has this relationship of speed, but with more mass or with more resistance. So this is the difference between being able to quickly, let's say, lift the toddler up to the car seat, because maybe the toddler doesn't weigh all that much for the 60-year-old. The difference between lifting them up versus the difference between reacting when the toddler jumps out of your hands and you have to catch them before they hit the pavement. So that's where, when there's resistance applied, we should still have some basic human skills of not just surviving, but taking care of those who are around us, even if it has to be done in a split second.
How much do we need? Let's just use power. So I would say, would you say that a 50-yard sprint or 50-meter sprint is more of a test of speed or power?
Power.
Okay, right. So let's just take power then, and finish off. And let's just put it out to you guys. One of my favourite people in the strength industry, Dan John, learned a lot from him. His global test of whether you are powerful enough, and I think he says that all humans should be able to do it. I don't know whether he capped it at a certain age, but I'm pretty sure that even he expects his clients in the 60s, 70s to be able to do it. True test of power is, can you do a standing long jump, jumping your own body height? Why is that important? For people who may be sitting at home in their 40s, 50s, 60s, why is that important? Well, that's important to save your own life, to get out of the way of an incoming bus.
Yep.
So, but we'd be, just for the sake of, say, coming up with standards for 20s, 40-year-olds, we would like to hear from you, what are some standards? What is base level power? What makes you powerful enough? If a 30-year-old comes to me and says, how do I know if I need to increase my power? What do I need to be able to do? How much further than that height should they be able to jump? How fast should they be able to go to sprint 50 meters? So maybe get back to us on this. Is there anything else to it?
No, that's it for this episode, but we'd love to hear your feedback on this. So please let us know, and thanks again, and as always, for joining Whiteboard Wednesdays.
Thank you.